Hi guys, welcome to my new video. This little cat was made in Japan. I'm going to be talking about a Japanese musician today, so I thought it was a good idea to show this great little piece here. Uh, the musician's name is Magical Power Mako. The album was called Blue Dot. Those are the song titles right there. This is Japanese script. Magical Power Mako was born, I believe, in 1955 in Japan. Biographical details are pretty hard to find out about this man. Um, he was basically a bedroom artist. He had a reel-to-reel tape recorder, so he would record his voice along with his electric guitar. Um, he must have been pretty well known in the area where he lived. He was invited to a few TV shows, like local TV shows. Um, his performance actually didn't go over too well. The TV station received a lot of negative phone calls about it. But one TV appearance, by the grace of God, there was a classical composer at the studio named Toru Takamutsu. This man was very entranced by the sounds that he heard by Magical Power Mako. He actually invited him to record on some soundtracks. I believe he recorded at least 3 or 4 soundtracks with Takamitsu, and he may have done some other projects. This happened in the early 70s. Takamitsu also engineered Mako to get a contract with Polydor Records. I know he definitely recorded one album, his first album, on Polydor. His probably most well-known and well-liked record is called Super Record. I think that was done in 1973 or 75. But this album right here, Blue Dot, was recorded, the best of my knowledge, between 1994 and 95. I have a reissue of it on the Atavistic label. It was originally released on a Japanese label called Bell Antique. So this is basically guitar, bass, and drums, like a power trio, with a little bit of a twist. It's actually the entire album is one long composition. Uh, all these songs, there's part one and part two of a couple of songs. Uh, each song is probably a total of 20 minutes long. Blue Dot 1 and 2, like 25 minutes total, and Go Thick, parts 1 and 2 are about 25 minutes long too. The other song, Mako Drum, is about a 9-minute song. The last one's about 5 minutes long, but it's one continuous free form piece. The amazing thing about this album is it's actually, you think of it as a power trio of guitar, bass, and drums, but actually it's an electronic album. There's tons of reverb and effects on here. Actually, it reminds me of this album, Sun Ra, When Angels Speak of Love. This was done in 1963. The recording was done by Tommy Bugs Hunter. He was a percussionist, but he also was an engineer. So he created a type of tape delay and electronic echo and really, reverb. So all the instruments, it was played live, but he, was playing with the reel-to-reel machine and created a really powerful reverb sound to it. And Sun Ra actually loved that sound. Even when Hunter left the band, Sun Ra continued to use that type of sound. So this is some kind of, antecedent to Blue Dot. in its use of heavy, heavy, heavy reverb. Another antecedent of this type of music in general is Pink Floyd's Pipers at the Gates of Dawn. This came out in 1967. In particular, the song Interstellar Overdrive, um, was a groundbreaking piece. It was a 10-minute long instrumental, which is very rare back, for 1967. So that sound has something to do with the blue dot type sound also. It doesn't sound exactly like it, but it's a good signpost to what a blue dot sounds like. This is a 3 CD version of the album. Um, it's got a mono version of the album and a stereo version of the album. The third CD is some singles from that time period and some alternate tracks. It also features this cool booklet. It's a reproduction of a collage type thing that Syd Barrett did that was done in 1965. It's funny because it doesn't even say much in this about the origin of this particular thing I'm showing, but it's a really cool booklet to have. I don't know much about it. Maybe people out there know more about it than I do. But everybody knows what the guys from Pink Floyd look like, so I'd rather show this. Yeah, so Interstellar Drive, that even had I think a big influence on the krautrock rock scene. Um, and a cool fact about Interstellar Overdrive is the BYG label at a music festival somewhere in Belgium. And Frank Zappa joined Pink Floyd to play on that concert to play a version of Interstellar Overdrive. That must have been a really cool version of that song. And another thing I wanted to talk about, another signpost to what Blue Dot kind of sounds like, reminiscent of, is the soundtrack done by Bobby Beausoleil of Lucifer Rising. I bought this CD maybe 25 years ago. It's on a label called MOD. It's probably a type of bootleg, but the sound's really good. Um, if anybody knows anything about Charles Manson, Bobby Beausoleil was part of the Manson family. He served a life sentence in prison. This music was actually done in prison. I think it's called Tracy State Prison somewhere in California. So the filmmaker Kenneth Anger contacted Bobby Beausoleil, and he created the soundtrack for the movie Lucifer Rising. Jimmy Page originally was supposed to do the soundtrack, but there was problems with Jimmy Page's wife, I think, and Kenneth Anger. Kenneth Anger was living with Jimmy Page and his wife at the time, so that thing fell apart. There's probably a version by Jimmy Page out there somewhere. Yeah, so this album, it's similar in the fact that it deals with lightness and darkness, just like the album Blue Dot does. Another thing about the Pink Floyd album, Pipers at the Gates of Dawn, actually comes from a book called Wind in the Willows, and the god Pan, 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 plays a part in that book, uh, Wind in the Willows. So Pan's going to feature big in the Blue Dot album. Uh, I can say this much about Magical Power Mako. Uh, Keiji Hino, he's probably a more well known than Magical Power Mako. I believe maybe his first thing he ever did was play on Mako's first Polydor album, which is an interesting little fun fact. So Hino is, has a huge discography. Magical Power Mako has a lot less albums than him. Hano's more well known in certain circles anyway. But to me, Magical Power Mako, for some reason, it's a puzzle to me why he's not as well known as any of the Japanese musicians that came out in the '70s. The crazy thing about the album Blue Dot, because there's no credits at all, I could never find out who the bass and drummer were. So listening to the album, in the midst of all the music, there's dialogue between the musicians, and I hear a little snippet where they say, we're going to set up a tour in Osaka, in Tokyo, and maybe Carolina in December. So right away I said, well, it's not North Carolina or South Carolina. So I thought they were saying Carolina, which is the name of a band from San Francisco. That's one of those bands like the Residents that dress in costumes and remain anonymous. This CD compilation was put out by the magazine called Chemical Imbalance. It's got a lot of great stuff on there. There's some of the bands that are on there. The track by Carolina is called Rear End Hernia Puppet Show. Their CDs and albums are very difficult to find. This is the only thing I have by Carolina. So if anybody out there has some Carolina, please show it. Gary Panther did the album cover here. Gary Panther, I know him from doing 3 albums for Frank Zappa: Orchestral Favorites, Studio Tan, and Sleep Dirt. And John Fair, musician, actually did this drawing right here. I think it wasn't even half Japanese, maybe. So I try to figure out who the drummer was. The drummer to me on the first 2 songs, Blue Dot 1 and Blue Dot 2, actually sounds like Philly Joe Jones, believe it or not. The Sun City Girls, one of my favorite bands from the '90s, had a song called The Gospel According to Philly Joe Jones. It's on one of the Carnival Resurrection Folklore Volume 3 CD series. So I thought at the time maybe Charles Gaucher, the drummer for Sun City Girls, was on Blue Dot. So in 1997, Charles Gaucher came out with a solo album called Pint-Sized Spartacus. I was reading this music magazine called Banana Fish. I don't know how many people know about this one. It came from San Francisco. Very difficult to read, but interesting. So I saw the ad right here for Charles Gaucher's album, CD actually. So I sent away for it by mail order, and along with my check and a little note I wrote, I asked Charles Gaucher, "Are you the drummer on Blue Dot?" Something to that effect. I can't remember exactly. And he sent me back a letter with the CD saying, I have absolutely no knowledge of Blue Dot. So I ran into a dead end with him. So I guess it wasn't Charles Gaucher. In 2006, maybe, I happened to see this band play live. Another Japanese band, Acid Mother's Temple. Fantastic show. Basically, a combination of Terry Riley and Black Sabbath, believe it or not. They're incredible. They're another Japanese band. They probably have 200 albums and CDs out there. They release tons of stuff. But the show was fantastic. So at the end of the show, It was in a small venue. Two of the players were sitting at the bar drinking. It was Makoto and Atsushi, sorry. Um, so I nudged in between them, and I actually started singing a song from the album called La Novia, which they were very impressed by. It's basically just like a that type of thing. They both started laughing, and they both said La Novia. And I said, yeah, La Novia. So I started, bought them drinks, of course. They're both drinking whiskey. We started talking about music. At Sushi, was talking about Sandy Denny. So I wasn't sure, because it was Japanese accent. I wasn't sure if he was talking about Sandy Denny that I know of. So I said, are you talking about Sandy Denny, who played on Led Zeppelin's Battle of Evermore? And yeah, that's her. So the guy loves, he's got an infatuation with Sandy Denny. With Makoto, I talked about, of course, Terry Riley in 16th century French music. This band is incredible. They're a fun band, like a 1970s style rock band, the long hair and everything. They're really a fun band to see. They actually toured America a lot. So when I was talking to those two guys, the other guy, Hiroshi, this guy, he's here and here. He came up to us. So I let him sit down between, his two buddies. I bought him a drink. So we started talking about music, and I said to him, "Do you know who Magical Power Mako?" And he said, "That fucking guy's crazy. He's fucking crazy." And Hiroshi ran away. He ran towards the dressing room, so I'm running after him. Saying, "Yeah, but who's the drummer on Blue Dot? Who's the drummer on Blue Dot?" So he disappeared in the dressing room, and by the time I came back to the bar, Makoto and Atsushi were both gone. So I never got the answer from them. So I'm still wondering who the bass and especially the drummer are on the Blue Dot. My only comparison, again, as another signpost, uh, they sound a little bit, that Blue Dot album, especially the song called Mako Drum, sounds a little bit like Faust. This is an album called Patchwork. It's sort of like the Faust tapes Volume 2. It was released, I think, in 2002. So it's stuff from 1971 all up to the 2000s. Pieced together like the Faust tapes were, but it's really good. Not too many people seem to know about this or even mention it, but if you see this, buy it. It's really, really good. Um, so the thing about the Blue Dot album, to me, I describe it as psychedelic pandemonium. Um, that's where the guy Pan comes into this, and Faust, the Faust sound itself, has that kind of element too of just the freedom of expression. But the Blue Dot album, the electric guitar just starts going through all the signal processing, and so after a while, the guitar doesn't even sound like a guitar; it just sounds like electricity itself. Uh, so Magical Power Mako the shape sounds with his guitar more than actually playing it, in a traditional way. Um, but like Faust and the Blue Dot album have that like radioactive feel to it. It's throbbing. So that's what they have in common, Faust and the Blue Dot album. Um, so it's one, like I said, it's one long continuous piece, and it just takes you out into. I mean, right from the first 10 seconds, your mind leaves your body. It's just that great. There's nothing I can really say that I can I'll compare it to exactly. You know, you can listen to it online. It's really it's a fantastic experience to even hear it. But yeah, so I think all in all, it basically taps into the energies of the occult and the god Pan. There's a great image right here, playing the pan flutes. Zamfir and Peter Pan also have a connection to the god Pan. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, yes. Um, you know, this album right here, Made in Japan, Deep Purple, you know, I've listened to it probably 1,000 times. I had it probably when I was 12 years old, 13 years old. Uh, and I love the part where E. Gillen says, can we have everything louder than everything else? And that reminds me, the motto of Blue Dot is should have been, can we have everything bounce off everything else? Because the reverb just is totally incredible, and the use of it is very unique. I've never heard it used as well as the Blue Dot album. And another fun fact about the album ends uh, with another ancient instrument, not the pan flutes, but a mouth harp or a Jew's harp. So Magical Power Mako seems to be coaching one of the other players, either the bass player or the drummer, on how to play this instrument. Or I think the guy knows how to play it, but telling them what to do. And they start, you know, having non sequitur conversations about different things, and they start to talk about having sex with Anton LaVey, who was the head of the Church of Satan, and they start talking about eating human flesh and that you know the human leg it tastes like chicken. So it ends you know with a kind of a humorous take on the occult, which I like too. So you know they really in a sense they painted black.